Hey everyone, welcome to my channel Any Tech. In this video, we will learn about creating the line graph using Matplotlib. So let us understand about Matplotlib first. So it is basically a library that is offered in Python, and it is basically used to create visualizations in a variety of formats. Particularly, we create line graph, bar graph, histograms, and the scatter plots using Matplotlib. Now, if we have to create line plot using Matplotlib, there is this query that we can use in Jupyter Notebook. So first, we have to import the NumPy library, and also there is a module in Matplotlib that is called as pyplot. So we will import the NumPy library and the module. Second, we will have to give some value for x and y. So for example, if I want to create an array out of x, and in this array, I want to store values from 1 to 5. So how I can do is, I will write x equal to np.arrange 1 to 6. Because the last value is not supported whenever I define any array in Python. So if I want to have the array from 1 to 11, I will have to write np.arrange 1 to 12. So in this case, I can define x, and similarly, I can define one more variable, that is y. Let us suppose it is 2 times of x, so 2 into x. Obviously, after defining x and y, we can check whether the x and y values are stored properly. And in the final section, what we have to do is, we have to plot the data for x and y and show the plot. That we can do using plt.plot, and within parentheses, we have to write x comma y. So this will plot the data for x and y. And then if you actually have to see this data, you have to use plt.show and then provide parentheses. Now we will go to the Jupyter Notebook and try to perform the same exercise. So here in my Jupyter Notebook, I can click on New Notebook, and let me provide some name for this notebook. I'll say line graph. Using Matplotlib, and then I'll open this notebook, and let me select the kernel as Python 3, and here I can write the same query. So first thing, I have to import NumPy, so I'll write import NumPy as np. Then I will have to also import the module. So from Matplotlib, I have to import pyplot as plt. So let me execute this. So looks like it is working fine. Now I will define the array for x. So how I can do it is, x equals np.arrange, and the spelling for arrange will have single r in it, not the double r. So np.arrange, and then I'll write 1 comma 6, and let me do this, and let me verify whether this array is properly created or not. So I'll simply type x and run this. So you can see that the array is already created in x. Now I will create another variable, let us suppose y. So y equal to 2, and then you have to write into, that is the asterisk mark, and then we will provide x. And then let us verify whether this y is created. So you can see that y is also created, and it is 2 into x. Now what I have to do is, I have to plot the graph between x and y and also show the results. So how I can do it is, I'll write plt.plot x comma y, and I'll also write plt.show and then within parentheses. So let me run this. So now you see that the graph is created. So this is the way using which you can create simple graph between x and y in Matplotlib. Now let us learn about adding the title and labels to the line graph. So we have already created a line graph. Now to the same line graph, what we are going to do is, we are going to add some title, and also we are going to add some labels to the same line graph that we just now created. So for this, what we can do is, between the lines plt.plot xy and plt.show, we have to define some additional lines. So the very first is for title. So for title, what I can write is I have to write plt.title, and then within the double quotes or single quotes and within parentheses, obviously, I have to write first line plot, or basically the title that I want to give to this line graph. So this way the title can be provided for the line graph. Second, if we have to define the labels for x and y axis, how we can do it is plt.x label, and then we have to write x axis or y axis within parentheses and obviously within quotes. So when we give these additional lines of code in between plt.plot and plt.show, we should be able to add the title and label. Now again, let me go back to the Jupyter notebook and try to perform this same exercise. So here in my Jupyter notebook, if you see that we already have the plot that is created. Now between plt.plot and plt.show, I am going to write additional lines of code to define title and the labels for x and y axis. So first, for title, I can write plt.title, and then I can write like first line plot, and then close the bracket. Similarly, to define the labels for x-axis, what I can write is plt.x label, and then I can write x-axis. Similarly, for y-axis, I can write plt.y label, and then open the parenthesis, and within double quotes, I can write y-axis, double quotes closed, and parenthesis closed. Now let me run this. So now you see that we have added the title, that is the first line plot, and also the labels to the line graph. So we can see first line plot, and also we can see x-axis and y-axis. Now let us make the graph more interesting. So we have already created a graph, we have also added title, we have also added label. How about changing the colors? How about changing the line style? How about changing the line width, right? So these all things can also be done using Matplotlib. For this, what we have to do is, when I give the command plt.plot, in addition to x and y, I can also add color, line style, and line width. So how I can do it is, I have to write plt.plot x, y, color equals r, line style equals, and then within the double quotes, I can provide the line style, line width equals any numeric value that you would want to see as the width of the line. And then we can close the parenthesis. And then obviously we can use plt.show to show the line graph. So there are different color options that are available in Matplotlib. You can use B for blue, G for green, R for red, and so on. And also you can use a particular shade of a color. So for example, if you have to use a shade of orange, that also you can do by providing the correct color code with the color option in the line of code. Similarly, you can also change the line style. So there are different line styles that are available. You can have single dash, you can have double dash, you can have colon, and also you can have dash and dot. So whatever combination you want to have, you can have for the line style as well. Now again, I will go back to the Jupyter notebook and try to perform this exercise. So here I am back to my Jupyter notebook. Now what I can do is, I can scroll up, and then what I have to do is, along with plt.plot, where I have defined x and y, I can define the additional properties as well. So how I can do it is, so plt.plot x, y, and then I can write color. So let us suppose I want this to be in blue color. So I'll write equals B within the double quotes. Then I can write line style. So let us suppose I want the line style to be in the dotted patterns. So I can define a colon here. And then I want the line width to be, let us suppose, 2. So that also I can do. Now I have modified this piece of code. Let me try to execute this code now. So now you see that the color is changed to blue, line style is changed to dotted pattern, and line width is provided as 2 here. So for example, again, if I change the line width here and make it 3, it will change the graph. So now you see the line width is changed. Further, I want to change the line width as 4. That also I can do. Further, if I want to change the color from blue to some other color, let us suppose black. So for this, I have to use K. And again, this also can be done. Similarly, if you want to change the line style to something like this, you want a straight line, so that also can be done, right? Again, if I want to change the color, I can write color equals Sam, and again the color can be changed. So these are again some of the different options that you can explore using Matplotlib. Now let us explore some of the more features that are available in Matplotlib for line graph. So you can also add 2 lines in the same plot. So far whatever graph we have made a single line in the bar graph in the x and y axis. Now in the same x and y axis, if I want to see 2 lines, that also can be done. So for example, how we can do it is, first we have to define x. So x equal to np.arrange 1 to 6, which is basically the array from 1 to 5. Then there will be 2 lines that we want to define. So y1 and y2 are something that will reflect in the graph. So y1 equal to 2 times of x and y2 equal to 4 times of x. And then we have to write the line of code as usual. So what we can do is we can write plt.plot x comma y1 color equal to m, line style equals dotted, and then line width equals 3. And then I can write plt.plot x comma y2 this time instead of y1, and again I can provide some color, let us suppose red. So r, line style equals dash, and line width equals 2. Then I can add title if I want. If you don't want, you can skip these steps. So for adding title, obviously you can write plt.title and then some title. So for example, 2 lines plot, and then plt.xlabel. I can provide the name of this axis. So I can write x-axis. Similarly, the label for y-axis, I can write y-axis. plt.grid true. So this is again one more important thing. If you also want to show the grid in the line graph, that also you can do using plt.grid, and within bracket you have to provide true. And then obviously in the last step you have to do plt.show to show the line graph. Now again, let me go back to the Jupyter notebook and try to perform this exercise for better understanding. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to write a new piece of code here. So what I have to write is, let us suppose x equals np dot arrange, and then I'll write 1 comma 6, or let us change the value this time, right? So 1 comma 11, and let us verify if this is stored. Yeah, so we have array from 1 to 10. Next, what I can do is I can define y1. So y1 equals 2 into x, let us suppose. And I will also define y2, which can be 4 into x. Then in the next step, what I can do is I can write plt dot plot. Then I can write x comma y1, and then I can write color equals m, and I can write line style equals, maybe I want this dotted pattern, and then I'll write line width equals 3. In the next step, I'll define plt.plot, and instead of y1, I will have y2 with x this time. So I'll write x comma y2 color equals, let us suppose blue, line style equals, maybe I can have dash, and then I can write line width, let's keep it same. so that both the lines look similar, at least in terms of width. Let me just try to see. So now you can see that we have plotted the two lines within the same graph. Now obviously we can add the title, we can add the labels as well. So how I can do it is I can write plt dot title and provide some title, and the title will be two lines graph. Then I can define the label for x-axis and y-axis. So I'll write plt dot x label, and x label I want to give it as horizontal axis this time. Similarly, plt dot y label, and I can write vertical axis. And then I also want to show the grid this time. So I'll write plt.grid, and then I'll provide the bracket. And then finally I can write plt.show, and that is it. Let me execute this. So now you can see that you have the vertical axis label, you have the horizontal axis label, you also have the title for the graph, and also you have the grids that are available here. But then most interesting thing, you do not have the lines itself, right? Because with this command that you are executing, you have not defined the x and the y axis, right? Or any axis basically that you want to represent as a line. So let me do one thing. Let me add the the plots here. So I'll write x comma y1 and x comma y2 and provide the color, line style and line width. And now let us verify whether the lines are reflecting now. So now you can see that the lines are reflecting properly. So this is the way using which you can plot two lines in a single graph. Now let's make this video even more interesting. So now what I want to do is I want to add the subplots, right? So subplot is where you will see two plots, right? So for example, in the previous step, what we did was we had two lines in the single graph. Now these two lines, if I want to include as part of different graphs, how I can do it is using subplots, right? So for this, what I have to do is I have to write x equal to np.arrange. Let us suppose the same example. So np.arrange 1 to 6, which will provide the array from 1 to 5. Then I can write y1 equal to 2 times of x, y2 equal to 4 times of x. Then I can write plt.subplot 1, 2, 1. Now, before I write plt.plot, I have to define plt.subplot to add any kind of subplots to my graph, right? And then what is this 1, 2, 1? So 1, the very first value is basically the number of rows in the grid of the subplot. The middle value that you see is basically the number of columns in the grid of the subplot. And then the last value is basically the index. So the index of the subplot, and it starts from 1, right? So the very first plot we want to see in the first place. That is why we are defining 1. For the next plot, we can say 1, 2, 2, because here we have the number of rows as 1, right? Because we want to see 1 row. We have 2 for the number of columns, obviously. And then the index will change from 1 to 2. And then obviously we can define plt.plot x, y1, color equals m, line style equal to dotted, and line width equal to 3, right? So we can define the color, line style and line width as per our need. And similarly, the color, line style and line width for the second subplot as well. Once we write these queries, finally we have to write plt.show. So this way we will be able to add the subplots to our line graph in Matplotlib. So now let us again go back to the Jupyter notebook and try to perform the same exercise. So the very first thing, I will define the value of x. So I'll write x equal to np dot arrange 1, 6. In the next step, let me define y. So y equals 2 times of x. Then similarly I can define y, which is 4 times of x. In the next step, what I can do is I can write plt dot subplot, and then I can write 1 comma 2 comma 1. Then I can write plt dot plot and x comma y1 comma color equals m comma line style equals dash and line width equals 3. Now I can write the subplot and plot queries for the second line. So how I can write is plt dot subplot, and I can provide 1 comma 2 comma 2 this time, and then I can write plt dot plot x comma y2 this time, color let us suppose blue this time, line style, so line style I can write again dash, let us keep it consistent with the above one, and line width again let us suppose 3, let us keep it consistent with the above one, and that is it. And finally I can write plt dot show, and let me try to execute this query. So when I execute this query, finally I am able to see 2 graphs here. So this is the way using which you can create subplots. So you can see that you have one graph, you have second graph, right? And obviously if you want, you can define the title as well. So you can define the title for the first subplot, for the second as well. You can also define the axis if you want. You can also define the labels for x and y axis in both the subplots, so that also can be done. So for example, let us try to define the title first, right? So let us suppose I want to define the title for first subplot. So what I can do is I can write plt dot title, and I can write first subplot, and that is it. Let us try to execute this. So now you see the title is updated for the first graph. Similarly, if I want to update the title for the second one, what I can do is I can write, after I write the plot, that is plt.plot, after plt.plot, I can write plt.title, and instead of first, I will make it second. And let us execute this query as well. So this is what I see. The title for the second subplot is also updated. Let me try to add the labels this time, right? So for adding the label for the first graph, what I can do it, after title, I can write plt dot x label, and I can say x1 axis, right? And similarly, I can write plt dot y label, and I can write y1 axis. Let me try to execute this. Okay, there is an error because I missed the double quotes here. Let me try to enter the double quotes here and try to execute this query again. So you see that the labels for the first graph is also updated. Similarly, if I have to update the labels for x and y axis for second subplot, that also I can do. So after title, what I can write is plt dot x label, and then I can write x2 axis, and similarly I can write plt dot y label, and I can write y2 axis, and let me try to execute this query again. So now you can see that the labels are updated for the second subplot as well. So this is how you can work with the subplots in Matplotlib. So that is it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.